Hi friends, Ali here. In today's tutorial, we will be making the Picot Blanket. If you're familiar with my designs, you know I have a lot of patterns that use the Picot single crochet stitch. It is my all-time favorite stitch. It's like a mini bauble and it creates a tiny little bump. This blanket is full of them, as well as rib stitches to give it a lot of beautiful texture. This blanket is made up of a 6-row repeat and is easy to customize the size to be perfect for you. I used 5 different colors for my blanket and switched colors for each stripe. Feel free to use as many or as few colors as you'd like. Here is our size chart. I have listed out 7 different sizes, but you can customize the blanket to be any size. I'll explain in the description box down below how you can customize the size. If you want to follow along with one of the sizes listed here, you'll find the measurements in inches in the first column. The first number is the width of the blanket and the second number is the length. In the second column, you'll find how many stitches you need to work across to get the right width. In the third column, you'll see how many stripes and rows you need to work to get the right length. So each stripe is 6 rows, and we will just keep repeating that 6-row repeat as many times as needed. In the fourth column, you'll find the yardage needed for each size. So the first number is how many yards you need for each stripe. So if you're wanting to use different colors, that will help you figure out how many yards you'll need for each color. Then the second number is how many yards total you'll need for your blanket. So if you're using one color, you can follow that total amount. So once you know what size you want to make, you want to either write down or remember how many stitches you need across for your size. We'll use that number for the first row, and then each row after that will have the same amount across. Then you'll also need to remember how many stripes and or rows you need to work for your size. If you want to make sure that your blanket is going to turn out the right size, check out the gauge pattern under the title and adjust your hook size if need be. If you're ready to get started, we'll head over to our supply list. For today's tutorial, you'll need medium 4-weight yarn. I'm using 5 different colors for my blanket, but feel free to use as many or as few colors as you'd like. It would be a good idea to plan out your blanket ahead of time, maybe draw out how many stripes your size has, then figure out your color palette and the order you'd like them to go in. Then you can multiply the number of stripes in each color by the yardage to figure out how many skeins of yarn you'll need. You will also need a 5.5mm or eye hook, a yarn needle, and scissors. Now let's get started on our Picot blanket. We're going to begin by making a foundation half double crochet row. So this is working our foundation chain and our first row of half double crochets together in one. So with a slip knot on your hook, we are going to chain 2, yarn over, and insert our hook into the second chain from the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook, and here we're creating our foundation chain. So that stitch right there, that is our chain, and remember where that is because we're going to work into it again. Then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook, and that is our half double crochet. So we just worked our foundation chain and half double crochet together. So now yarn over and working into that chain stitch that we worked below. So working in 2 loops, insert your hook, yarn over, and then yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook to create another chain. Then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook to create our half double crochet. So there we've just created 2 foundation half double crochets. Yarn over and insert your hook into that last chain that we worked. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook to create our chain. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook to create the half double crochet. And we're just going to repeat this all the way across, and you want to work as many stitches as you need for your size. And we're just going to repeat that all the way across. Take your time if you've never worked a foundation half double crochet row before. They take a lot of practice. If you have a hard time remembering where that chain stitch is at the bottom, you can use a stitch marker to mark it. But just repeat this all the way across until you reach as many stitches as your size calls for. So I just finished working my foundation half double crochet row, and this is what it's looking like. If you wanted to work them separately, so work your foundation chain and then a first row of half double crochets, you can. Work a chain that is one more than your total stitch count, and then work your first half double crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then you can just carry on with the pattern from here. So I'm going to chain one and turn, and for row 2 we are going to work a single crochet in each stitch across, but working in the back loop only. So if you look at your stitches from above, the loop closest to you is the front loop, and the loop furthest away is the back loop. So we're going to be working in the back loop only, and we're going to work one single crochet into each stitch across. So our chain does not count as a stitch. So we're working into that chain, that stitch right below our chain there in the back loop only, single crochet, and all the way across in each stitch work one single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch across. And this is going to create that ribbed texture, as you can see there. So all of our texture is going to be on this side of the blanket. So this is why we're working the back loop. It's just going to create some texture on the front of our blanket here. So we're just going to continue across, working one single crochet in the back loop only in each stitch across, and our stitch count is always going to remain the same. So I'm just coming up to the end of row 2, and this is what we're looking like so far. So we have that beautiful ribbed texture there. Then I'm going to chain one and turn, and then we're on to row 3, and row 3 is where we're going to work our picot single crochet stitches. Now those stitches are worked on the back side, so we're going to push our picot stitches to the back. So on our front side there where the ribbing texture is, that's where the picot bumps are going to poke out. So we are going to do a simple repeat for this row. We are going to work a single crochet, regular single crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to work our picot single crochet into the next stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop on our hook, yarn over and pull through the first loop on our hook again, and yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook again. So here we have a chain 3. We're going to yarn over, pull through both loops on our hook, push that chain 3 to the front of our blanket, and then single crochet into the next stitch. So on the back side here, it doesn't look like much, but when you flip it over to the right side of our blanket, there you see our picot single crochet stitch. So it's just a little bump there. It's like a mini bobble. And then we're just going to repeat those last 3 stitches all the way across. So in the next stitch, we're going to single crochet, and then picot single crochet into the next stitch. So insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook, then yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook, push that chain 3 to the front, then single crochet into the next stitch. And we're just going to repeat that all the way across for row 3. Single crochet, picot single crochet, then single crochet. And here, when you look at the front of the blanket, you can see those picot single crochets poking out. So that's going to be all the way across for this row. So just repeat single crochet, single crochet, all the way across until you reach the end of row 3. So I'm just coming up to the end of row 3. So we're going to work one single crochet in that last stitch. So here's the back side of our blanket, chain 1 and turn. And here is what the front side of our blanket is looking like. So you can see all those picot single crochet stitches poking out. And now we're on to row 4. And for row 4, we are just going to be working 1 single crochet into each stitch across. So working into that first stitch, we're going to work 1 single crochet. And sometimes it can be hard to see where to work your stitch when those picots are in the way, so you can kind of just push it to the side, and you'll see right behind the bump of the picot single crochet is our stitch. So you can kind of use your thumb to push the picot single crochet to the side, and then you'll see the stitch right behind it. So we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across for row 4. So I'm just coming up to the end of row 4, and this is what we're looking like so far. If you find that your picot stitches get pushed back in when you're working across them, you can just gently pick them out to make them pop out again. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're on to row 5. And for row 5, we're just going to half double crochet into each stitch across. So working in that first stitch, we're going to half double crochet. We're just going to half double crochet into each stitch across for row 5. So I'm just coming up to the end of row 5. Here's the back side of our blanket. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and here is the front side of our blanket. And now we're on to row 6. So this is going to be the last row of this first stripe. So again, working in the back loop only, we are going to single crochet into each stitch across, but only working in the back loop. So starting in that first stitch, insert your hook into the back loop of that first stitch and single crochet. And then we're just going to do that all the way across. Single crochet in the back loop only in each stitch across, and this is going to be our last row for our first stripe. So I'm coming up to the end of row 6, and before I finish that last stitch, I'm going to change colors for my next row. So this is the very first stripe, so our 6-row repeat. So now I'm going to change colors for my next stripe. So in that last stitch, I'm going to insert my hook and start my single crochet as normal, yarn over and pull up a loop. And before I do that final pull through, I'm going to drop my current color and pick up my next color, and then do the final pull through with my new color. So be sure to leave a few inch tail at the end so that you have enough to weave in your ends. And then pull through with your new color. And there we just finished our last single crochet. So I'm going to drop my old color and just carry on now with my new color. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then we're on to row 7. So I'm going to cut off the first color that I used and carry on with my next color. If you don't want to change colors, you don't have to. You can just continue on with the same color. But I'm going to cut off my first stripe color, making sure I leave enough that I have plenty to weave in at the end. And then I'm going to carry on with my new color to make my second stripe. So now we're just going to repeat the last 6 rows again. So starting with our row of half double crochets. For row 7, I'm just going to half double crochet into each stitch across. And then we're just going to continue repeating the last 6 rows that we did. So here we're on our second stripe, and for row 7, I'm going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch across. So I'm going to make the next colored stripe with you all, and then you can just continue on repeating these 6 rows over and over again until you reach the total number of stripes you need for your size. So I'll repeat these next 6 rows with you, and then you'll just keep repeating them for as ever long as you need. So for row 7, we're just going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch across. So I'm just coming up to the end of row 7. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're on to row 8. And for row 8, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only in each stitch across. So making sure to work in only the back loop, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only in each stitch across for row 8. And I'm just coming up to the end of row 8 now. And here's what our blanket is looking like so far. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we're on to row 9. And for row 9, we are going to work our picot single crochet row. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into the first stitch. Then picot single crochet into the next stitch. And then single crochet into the next stitch. And we're just going to repeat that across for row 9, single crochet into the next stitch, picot single crochet into the next stitch, then single crochet into the next stitch. I'm just coming up to the end of row 9. You chain 1 and turn, and now on to row 10. For row 10, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across. I'm just coming up to the end of row 10. This is what our blanket is looking like so far on the front side. Chain 1 and turn, and now on to row 11. And for row 11, we are just going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch across. I'm just coming up to the end of row 11. Now chain 1 and turn, and now we're on to row 12, and this is going to be the last row of this stripe. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only in each stitch across. And when I reach that very last stitch of the row, I'm going to change colors. So for row 12, just single crochet in the back loop only in each stitch across. And then if you're wanting to change colors, we'll do that on the very last stitch of this row. So I'm just coming up to the end of row 12, so I have 1 stitch left, and I'm going to insert my hook as normal, pull up a loop, and then before I do that final pull through, I'm going to change colors. So I'm going to change to my next color and do my final pull through with my new color. And then chain 1, and then you can cut off your old color. Make sure you leave enough to weave in the end. And now we're just going to continue on repeating more stripes. So we're going to repeat the last 6 rows, change the colors if you want at the end of each stripe, and then you just need to make as many stripes as your size calls for. So just continue on repeating the last 6 rows until you reach as many stripes as your sides needs. And then I'm going to catch up with you guys at the very end when I finish my last row and my last stripe. So I'm just coming up to the end of my blanket. And I'm going to chain 1 and then cut off my yarn, leaving enough that I can weave it in. So I worked a total of 16 stripes for my blanket. So I'm just going to cut off my yarn here and then pull it through with my hook. And then we are all done. All that's left is to weave in all of our ends. Now I didn't work a border on my blanket. I like it without a border, but if you wanted to add a border, you surely can. But I'm gonna leave mine as is, and here you can see I worked a total of 16 stripes. So I used 5 colors and I repeated each color 3 times, and then I worked the first color I used at the end again for a total of 16 stripes. So now I'm just going to weave in all of my ends and then we're all done. So since we do have a front and back of our blanket, you're going to want to weave in all of your ends on the back side. And then we're all finished. Thank you so much for following along. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You can find this pattern and many more free patterns on my blog, whoshomemade.com. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to tag me in your photos so I can see your finished turtle trunk creations. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.